Good morning, Merhaba. It's really great to be here. I love Istanbul, and I've been working in telecom related businesses for the last 12 years as a futurist. Uh, Many of you probably don't know what a futurist is. Anybody know what a futurist is? Okay. A futurist is somebody who's looking forward the next 5 to 10 years and then working backwards to reinvent what people do. There's famous futurists like Alvin Toffler that you may know from the history of futurism, and there's also people like Ray Kurzweil who are infamous for their futurism. My work is very much focused on the next 5 to 7 years. And the key question really is, what is going to happen in 5 to 7 years that will help you reinvent your business today? And when I was preparing for this event, one thing that is for certain, of course, is that risk will increase. Right? That's probably not new to you, but given that everything in technology is now exponentially faster and bigger, some of the things that we're seeing every single day, they look like science fiction. If you look at movies like Minority Report, Blade Runner, Oblivion, some of those things in those movies are actually real now. For example, real-time language translation is here. You can use an app called Say Hi. Do you remember? You may have tried that sometime. It's $2 for this app, right? It's very powerful. You can speak in real time and have it come out in 24 languages in real time, and the other way around. This is true science fiction. The other day I was in Japan ordering sushi. I was speaking in German. She heard it in Japanese. She responded in Japanese. I heard it in German in real time. Okay. Then there's things like big data, artificial intelligence. Almost every single web product that we use, from Google Maps to Google Now to, of course, Amazon, Netflix, has artificial intelligence in it, which means it emulates what people used to do. Right? I'll give you some great examples on this, the way things are going. So my job really is, this expresses my job very easily. I take very complex scenarios and I bring them down to the, hello? It's not working, okay. I have to go back to the old-fashioned way of hitting the button, I guess. Nope. Sorry about that. We tried this earlier, there you go. Okay, so bringing complex things down to the bottom line. And of course, the telecom business is pretty complex. About 1/3 of my work is in telecom, working with carriers and technology companies, and the other one is media, marketing, and tourism, a few other key turfs. My company is called the Futures Agency, and our motto is, it wasn't raining before Noah, when Noah built the ark. And this is something that we use a lot to talk to people, because when you're doing well, it's actually a good time to think about the future. When I worked in the music business, I used to be a musician and producer, and later on the internet. I worked with the record labels 1999 to say, the music is going to move into the cloud. Right? Music will be just a click on a button and then you get music. And in 1999 they said that it may be true, but we don't like this. Right? We don't like the idea of technology doing this, right? So they refused, and what do we have today? We have 71% decline on revenues in music, because it happened anyway. So we're going to take a couple live polls, and I assure you that the internet here is not working very well. I'm sure you've tried. So if you have 3G and you can roam, then it's better off if you're using that. We're doing some live polls, and all you have to do is go to this web page if you have a smartphone, paulev.com/futuristgert. We're not doing a poll now. This is just for heads up, okay? But on this system, I have 250 slots for voting. So if I only see 14 people voting, then I know you haven't voted. And what happens if you don't vote? You don't get lunch. Yeah? Anyway, so we have rapid digital transformation in all sectors of society, and worldwide really. And it's interesting to see that the so-called developing countries are taking the lead, actually, on some of these changes. And some of the business models I'll talk about are actually perfectly suited for developing countries rather than developed countries. This transformation is things like, Imagine you have a bookstore. Today, if you have a bookstore, people come to your bookstore, they look at the book, and they scan the code with their phone. Then they go to Amazon, where the book is 3 times as cheap. So rather in Switzerland, you go to the bookstore, it's 40 Swiss francs, like 30 euros. You go to Amazon in the store and order it for 6 euros. And that is pretty much happening everywhere. Now in many restaurants that you go to, the waitress has been replaced by an iPad. So this is actually a big trend in restaurants. You fire half of the waiters, you use an iPad to order, and the other people bring in the food. You shortcut this. The Google self-driving car, you familiar with the self-driving car? It's going to be a while before it gets real. But assisted driving, for example, driving on a highway in a chain of cars, that's already becoming reality. So rapid transformation, starting with the original World Wide Web, 1984, of course. Now, this is a major driver of change called big data. I'm sure you're familiar with that. But big data basically today means that we have a huge growth of data, but we're only using like 0.05% of this intelligence in the data. Okay? And that'll be a major driver of business models. Google, Facebook, Amazon, those are companies that are essentially like oil companies for data. Right? You've heard the saying before in 2006, data is the big oil, is the new oil. Right? And that's actually true now. The data economy will be more than the fossil fuel, the oil economy in 7 years, roughly $8 trillion per year. The Internet of Things, that's the other big change, connecting cars, traffic lights, transportation, logistics, our wristwatches, connecting everything with everyone. Also a very scary proposal when you think about what that means. Potentially overlaps privacy issues. And this is the most important issue for you, is data intelligence. What can the system do that used to be done by people or by simple software by truly becoming intelligent? You know, there's research now from Oxford from last year already that says in the next 20 years we're going to have most things automated and digitized. Anything that can be automated will be. Right? For example, advertising, programmatic advertising, manufacturing. We can lose as many as 45% of all jobs due to automation. So if you're doing revenue assurance today, or you're figuring out how to use software in the future, this will be done with a digital brain, so to speak. Or it's already done with a digital brain, right? But in the future, this brain will be actually intelligent. You can get a preview of this if you go to your app on your mobile phone and bring up the app. It's called Google Now. It's pretty much on every mobile phone. If you're a Google user, you log in and Google Now will tell you what's going to happen for the rest of the day. Your weather, your stock, your friends, the places you should eat, and so on. It's basically predicting things. So this is a very big trend for the near future. So what's happening here, most of you are operators and from a telecom business, of course, is that this is a gigantic opportunity for a leap, from this old place, the water glass of mobile operators, to a new fishbowl. And also that means entirely new revenue models based on social, local, mobile, cloud video, big data. And if you look around, many of the major international telecoms are making that leap at the very moment, trying to figure out how to become part of something that is going on top of the networks. And this is a very tough change because it's basically like a transformation from a car to a robot, like this short clip shows. Right? So it's actually quite a challenge to figure this out. And one of the things is that our entire business logic, our models, our ecosystem, our intelligence is sort of swept away by this wave of new things that are happening. The Internet of Things, for example, some companies like Cisco and others are saying it could be 50 times as large as the Internet of people and computers. And of course, all of these things use the network. For example, if you're in the entertainment business, music, films, news, video, and books are in the cloud now. So what happens when you don't have the cloud? You have nothing, right? You can't do anything. When the Google car drives and it does not have a connection of 1 gig per second to download data, it will stop driving. In fact, the Google car will not let you out of the car if it doesn't have a data connection, because nothing works anymore. So dependency on the network will be absolutely fundamental. And this brings up interesting opportunities. I think what's happening here is that if we look at the old model of mobile operators and telecoms, that's actually a very small pie compared to the future. Having said that, of course, here's the bad part. Right? This is not just your pie. There'll be many other people sitting in that pie, including companies that build artificial intelligence like Google. Google is planning to basically take over advertising with an algorithm. You know, the advertising business is roughly $1 trillion per year. And if technology goes on as it is now, very soon half of that will be automated, especially mobile advertising. So the challenge really is we're living in an exponential world. Okay? And an exponential world means that connectivity and technology is taken off, right? It's basically we're at this point here, roughly around here. Interesting, if we count linear numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? It's almost the same than 1, 2, 4, 8. You know, it's not so far apart. But from 8 to 16 is a big leap. From 4 to 5 is not. So an exponential world means that all the things that we've been looking at, suddenly they happen. Right? Cheap batteries for self-driving cars, bioengineering, right? All of the things that are happening on the scale just absolutely explode. And the bad part is, of course, that people, or the good part, you could say in many ways, people, culture, regulations, and politics are like a snail compared to exponential technology. There's good things and bad things about this because people can't be exponential. You know, we don't think faster because we Twitter. You know, so our brain is limited there. But we're living in a world this is the rule number 1, you can expect exponential change in the next 5 years. And that also means exponential speed of change. If you look what happened in a very short time, for example, Apple and Amazon, 50% of their revenues come from things that didn't even exist 5 to 6 years ago, the Kindle and the iPhone. And that's going to happen to you as well. So by 2020, it's a good chance, maybe 20, 30, 50% of your revenues come from new things. What will they be? Can you afford to sit back and say, oh, you know, we'll continue as usual? Because it still makes lots of money. Right? People are still buying connectivity, making phone calls. My view is you can't. Because if you don't add the new revenue streams, somebody else will take them over and start eating into your core revenue streams. It's a great book to read on this called Exponential Organizations. This just came out from a Singularity University, and they describe the process of how you can become exponential. So I recommend that you read this, because that is rule number 1. We have to think exponentially, because now we have these convergences. And if you have kids, you know what I'm talking about. For a 15-year-old kid, the internet and getting online is like electricity. It's like water. It's like going to the bathroom. Right? There's no doubt it exists. You know, the other day I went to Zanzibar with my 18-year-old son, and this was the first time in his life that he didn't have internet. Right? So we're on the beach, and he wants to go and listen to music. Of course, doesn't work, right? No internet. So basically, this convergence of on and offline is happening, the convergence of human and machines.